Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Federalist dated September 30th. And I thought this was probably pretty topical considering what is going on with our fellow citizens in Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee. And it says the FEMA website admits keeping you alive in a natural disaster isn't its top priority. Well, that's the whole reason the organization exists. So maybe after this and when Trump gets in office, he can just dissolve FEMA altogether. Whatever the alternatives are, probably like the National Guard, have them, take care of it. Whatever disasters are, get them prepared. But FEMA should probably be destroyed. So this is from the actual FEMA website. It says goal number 1 is instill equity or communism as a foundation of emergency management. Goal 2 is lead whole community in climate resilience. Yes, because that's important. And goal 3, promote and sustain a ready, FEMA and prepared nation. So that's not, excuse me, and I'm not cutting that out. That's not your first priority, okay? God. So it says residents of flooded out towns across Appalachia have been forced to rely on charity relief efforts instead of the federal government. Yes, because our government is inept, led by inept people. This is why the government should be as small as humanly possible. Let's get into this. It's a short article. It says residents of flooded out towns across Appalachia have been forced to rely on charity relief efforts days after a Category 4 hurricane brought biblical devastation to communities seemingly abandoned by the federal government. While Hurricane Helene brewed over the Atlantic, the nation's preeminent disaster agency was apparently distracted by concerns of equity and climate resilience over emergency preparedness. Yeah, got to have those far left values in there that don't have anything to do with what your actual mission is. Got to do that first. Because again, the ideology always has to come first to these people. It's never the actual mission itself. As the storm-related death toll eclipsed 100 on Monday morning, as Americans desperate for resources depend on local first responders and private helicopters rather than the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, as you probably guessed. While FEMA routinely prepares for colossal rescue operations in the days leading up to major storms, such pre-stage support was clearly not available to residents in the Appalachian towns washed away by the torrential downpour from last week's hurricane. And at the time I'm recording this, which is a few days after this article came out, and it's definitely a few days after the actual event itself, this death toll is higher already. It's at least twice that at this point. And FEMA has apparently showed up at places and is stopping regular citizens from delivering stuff to their fellow citizens. Okay, so it's not like they're basically cock-blocking regular citizens, if you will, from doing what they need to do. And I don't even understand how that's possible. So let's keep going here. It says, in an interview published with NPR on Sunday, FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell, who visited where the hurricane made landfall in Florida this weekend, was asked about the devastation in Tennessee and North Carolina. I believe it's 9 search and rescue teams in North Carolina, Criswell said, with more that are coming in today. Said, we're sending in more resources, the FEMA chief added, to make sure we can get to everybody that's been impacted by this, people that are still isolated from the effects of the storm. But moving resources in days after the storm does not mean resources were nearby and ready for deployment. The agency's lack of proactive measures might be explained by the federal government's listed values. Yeah, and it's amazing that they can't respond to this in Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee as fast as like DeSantis did his in Florida. And granted, Florida kind of has, they're ready for this sort of thing, whereas, Appalachia is not. So that could be certainly a factor in this as well. But wouldn't it be nice to have someone competent like Ron DeSantis running things when it's like Florida's basically like already recovered from everything? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? It says, according to FEMA's website, let me scroll up here a little bit, it says storm preparation doesn't even rank among the top 2 priorities of the Federal Relief Agency. FEMA stated goals include, first, instilling equity as a foundation of emergency management, and second, to lead whole of community in climate resilience. Lead whole of, that sentence doesn't even make sense. There's the goal to promote and sustain a ready, FEMA and prepared nation ranks 3rd under an administration obsessed with promoting identity politics at every level of the federal bureaucracy. Yes, and this is how innocent people get killed because it's happening right now. It says, when President Joe Biden was sworn into office, one of his first appointments was former White House National Security Advisor Susan Rice to lead the Domestic Policy Council. She was tasked with requiring agencies make rooting out systemic racism a focal point of their mission. Well, it would have been nice if there was any, and no one's been able to prove that there was. It's not a single example that anyone's provided, so nice way to root out something that, well, doesn't really exist. As on Sunday, President Biden declined to pledge additional resources to Americans drowning in what officials are calling unprecedented destruction. We've given everything that we have, Biden told reporters as he boarded a plane back to Washington. No, yeah, you gave it all to Ukraine. Says, are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them? A reporter asked, and he said no. And here's the embedded tweet. Greg Price, great follow on X. And yeah, he's basically like, nah, sorry, too bad. And that's the end of the article. So again, like I said, pretty quick. So I really hope that people are out there defying the government and going and actually like delivering stuff to these folks because they need it. And maybe, just maybe, it'd be nice if we could get a government in office that decides Americans come before foreigners. This is like telling people that strangers are more important to you than your own family. Okay? And get rid of this BS. Goals 1 and 2 here. That has nothing to do with what your job is. It's far left nonsense. And Susan Rice, hopefully when Trump gets in, that'll be the end of Susan Rice in politics because she's just bad news. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say before I keep going on about this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.